I'm a guy that's 27. I hate Star Wars Resurrections. Boba died in Jedi. I'm Rich Boy J. Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back with another video, and today is another episode of Your Questions Answered. If you're unfamiliar with the series, Your Questions Answered is a Q&A series that I do here on the channel. So if you want to see one of your questions answered, leave it in the comment section below. Make sure it is Lego Star Wars or Lego Star Wars, and then check back next week to see if you made the cut. The first question this week comes from Awesome Lego Creations. He says, nice intro, Jay. My question is, do you think Lego will ever try snot techniques in the Lego Star Wars theme or any other? I hate when there are too many studs on Lego builds. I want to get to this question because this is something that I've brought up here on the channel quite a bit when it comes to the Star Wars UCS sets in particular. I'm not going to act like Lego doesn't employ snot techniques. I think that as recently as the most recent summer wave of sets, like we've seen them really go like ham on some snot techniques. I'm thinking about the Inquisitor Transporter site specifically. But when it comes to the UCS sets, I feel like they're kind of lagging behind a lot of the other premium sets that we see Lego put out. Specifically, I'm thinking about like the AT-AT, which like is probably my favorite Lego set ever, so I'm not trying to crap on the set, but you'll notice if you look at it, there are quite a few exposed studs, and I do feel like the overall aesthetic is compromised because of this. Similarly, when it comes to things like the Luke Landspeeder set, there's just a lot of studs, like specifically or especially towards the back area. Now, if you look at these compared to some of the sets from other themes that are like premium, bigger sets like the Titanic or the DeLorean, you can see that Lego's making a concerted effort to actively like not put studs on these sets. Like the Titanic specifically, like you'd really have to look super hard to find studs anywhere on that set. And I feel that they're working quite a bit harder in the other like themes to employ snot techniques for these premium models. And I really would like for Star Wars to follow suit. So could this be something that Star Wars will eventually kind of trend towards? I'd say probably, and if not, I definitely hope so. But I think that especially now, you can see that there's kind of like a quality drop when it comes to the big premium sets of other themes compared to Star Wars, which is really interesting because I feel like at one point Star Wars was really the trendsetter when it came to employing new techniques, getting new parts when it came to the UCS sets. But now it seems like they're pretty conservative when it comes to giving the big new Star Wars sets unique parts and really doing some wild techniques. So hopefully as we progress through time and we get more and more Star Wars UCS sets, we'll see it kind of trend towards the quality of some of the other sets and other themes. Next question comes from Brickskate. He says, love the intro. Dude, I remember when you were 24 and each day you built some more. Also when you were 25 and Lego Star Wars was your life. And also more recently when you were 26 and you built with bricks. What a far way you've come. I've been a fan since like 2018 and I've loved every video and enjoyed coming on live streams a handful of times. Good job, bro. Keep up the amazing building techniques. My question for you today is, if you were able to snap your fingers and every set you own was able to reseal itself in perfect condition, would you do it? Also, kind of cheating with the second question, but what's the best Lego deal you found? I'll answer the second question first. And at the time, it was a pretty good deal. In hindsight, it was an insane deal. I bought my Cloud City Boba Fett minifigure for, I think, like 160 bucks. Which, like I said, even at the time, like that was kind of a steal. That was about, you know, half as much as most people asked for it. So I was super happy with it then. But now, looking at the price of that figure, I am very happy that I got it for the price I did at the time that I got it. That just, I can't imagine if I hadn't have found that deal, that specific deal, because that's what really made me pull the trigger. Finding it for that price, I was like, okay, like I can't pass this up. I have to buy it now. If I had for some reason just held off on getting that figure and at this point I just didn't have it, I would be a very sad person. Like I might honestly just cancel the minifig wall altogether, because that thing is ridiculous. An honorable mention for the great deals department for me is probably going to be the first Chrome Gold C-3PO I got, the one that was actually a misprint. I picked it up, and it's not in the greatest condition. I want to say less than 200 bucks, maybe like 180. And I mean, that figure is shop in value as well. And the fact that I have one of probably the very few misprints of it probably makes it even more rare. So I do have a second copy, and that one is in far better condition, and it's not a misprint, and it's the European version. So I have like a good condition one, and I have my misprint. But I'm glad I was able to pick up both of those figures when I did, because paying the prices now would not be a good time. But as for your bigger question, if I were able to snap my fingers and every set I own would reseal itself in perfect condition, this is actually pretty tempting because there's a lot of sets I have, especially from my childhood, that are just like pieces, in who knows where, thrown in random mocks, thrown in random bins, that I probably will never want to sit down and just, look through them and get all the parts that I need in order to reassemble them. So there's a lot of convenience that would come with that, to just have the set kind of reseal itself and put it in perfect condition. So I can kind of just, have all the sets as they were and then kind of build them from the ground up. So then that brings up the second point. Do I want to actually spend the time and rebuild every single set I own, even if it means that I get to like re-experience building it fresh for the first time? Um, I'm probably gonna go with no. As much as nice as it would be to have all my sets, resealed, and of course they'd be worth tons of money. Not that I would even want to sell them. I think that having to dedicate that much time to rebuilding all those sets is that would how it sounds weird, but that would kind of be a waste of my time. Like building sets for me, just especially now, I'm really realizing just does not have the appeal that it used to. You of course have the outlier set that really like speaks to me, and that really gets me excited to build. But like I think that my passion is far more towards mock building and designing and just kind of doing my own thing. And unless the set is something that I'm super excited about, the process of building it can feel, I don't know, just not really as exciting as it used to. So I'm ultimately probably going to go with no with this question. Next question comes from Warsaw Build. He says, I love the new intro. I was wondering what your favorite Star Wars animal slash creature is. I always thought Star Wars animals were interesting because they're a mashup of real animals. This is very true. And I like this question because it got me thinking about just Star Wars creatures in general. And this is not something that I do super often. So I probably owe it to myself to just, go through and look at some of the interesting creatures that we get in all Star Wars. Because there's some pretty, insane designs that we get by way of this. But honestly, the first one that came to my mind just kind of instinctively was the Voltex. And this isn't just the big Last Jedi fan in me, but I really do love the design of the Voltex. And I love that, they were to make a pretty convincing physical model of it. I think the Voltex looks really cool. Those of you who remember like the Vardos days know that I was a Lego Porg king, and I still do have a very soft spot in my heart for Porgs. I love the kind of Last Jedi setup that they were just nesting in the Millennium Falcon. I thought that was pretty hilarious. Very reminiscent of like the Giska storyline from Knights of the Old Republic. So that's just a cool, subtle thing. And I don't know, I kind of wish they followed up on that in any discernible way, along with many things from The Last Jedi that I wish they followed up on. Anyways, outside of that, some honorable mentions for me. I gotta go with Tauntauns. The concept of Tauntauns are so cool. I remember playing Battlefront back in the day, and I don't have a ton of memories with Battlefront because it wasn't a game that I played hardcore, but one of the more exciting parts of it was getting to ride a Tauntaun. Next question comes from Galactic Bricks. He says, would you want to see a LEGO Star Wars Alien Builder character pack like with Harry Potter? This would not be a bad idea. I think that any type of character builder pack would actually be a really good idea for Star Wars. I think I talked about this with someone, and the one that came to my mind, and this is one that I could actually kind of realistically see them doing, is like a Jedi character builder battle pack. Just because we see so many random Jedis anyways, and the Jedi is just such an iconic symbol of Star Wars. It kind of is like the equivalent of like the wizards in Harry Potter. And I could see them doing like a set where you get a bunch of different types of torsos and heads, and you could kind of like customize your own Jedi figure. And maybe they could also include like some Jedi temple builds for the background, or even like a Jedi Council chambers. Or if they really want to get deep down in the lore, maybe they could make like an Ilum background, and you'd have like your cast of young Jedis who are exploring the caves looking for their kyber crystals. And of course the set would include a variety of lightsabers to equip your characters with. I think I honestly just came up with a pretty cool set idea. Now that I'm thinking about it more and more, it'd be really cool if LEGO did that, like a Jedi character builder battle pack, or not even a battle pack, but just like a character pack like they did with that Harry Potter set. I think that would actually resonate with a lot of the community. Next question comes from Big Mr. T. He says, yo, I'm not sure if anyone's asked this before, but have you read any Star Wars books and did you enjoy them? I just read Labyrinth of Evil recently and I really enjoyed it. It had some flaws, but I really like the way it dives into Dooku and his thoughts on the war. Yes, I've read a few Star Wars books. I definitely owe it to myself, especially during this period of time where I really feel like Star Wars is just at a lull. Like the overall excitement for Star Wars for me and kind of what I sense for the community is honestly I feel the lowest it's been since I've been in the community, because you have to understand, like, I got into the community like when the sequels were at the forefront of Star Wars, and obviously like there was just a big campaign behind it, and these were like the big new Star Wars movies, so a lot of the community was very obsessed with them, and there was just so much news constantly coming out about those. And now we're kind of in the TV era, and I mean, it could just be me as someone who doesn't watch really any of the shows that are coming out nowadays. But I feel like even, when I was excited for The Mandalorian season one, for example, the TV shows just, I mean, they're not TV shows. I don't know what you call the Disney Plus series, I guess is what I should refer to them as. They still, at least to me, just don't hit the same way that Star Wars movies do. And I mean, especially at this point, like, I think Star Wars is just kind of destined for the big screen. Like it's kind of, I mean, it's definitely nice to get the ancillary material now that is beneficial for a lot of fans. But I think for Star Wars to really thrive and to be meaningful for me, like the movies are what hit the most for me. Like absolutely. And there's Star Wars TV shows that I love. Like there's episodes that really resonate with me, but they don't have the replay value, I guess, that a Star Wars movie would have. They don't have the staying power for me that a Star Wars movie would have. So I'm really anxious to get back for Star Wars movies. But get away from that tangent. Star Wars books are, I think, also a nice kind of bit of ancillary material, and it probably could just do something for me in terms of getting me, I guess, more invested and interested in Star Wars right now, considering that I'm not really watching the shows. But as for the books that I read Catalyst and I read Bloodline. These were both very timely books. I read Bloodline, I think it came out maybe right when Force Awakens came out. So I probably read it like right after Force Awakens or something like that. And it was kind of cool to, just learn more about Leia, get a Star Wars political thriller story, honestly, which was really interesting. And kind of see like the galaxy realize exactly who Leia was, which was something that you might think about, but you're kind of unsure. Like, does the galaxy actually know who Leia is related to, and kind of her dealing with the fact that she is Darth Vader's daughter. Similarly with Catalyst did so much for me going into Rogue One. In fact, that I remember, like, as I was sitting in the theater about to watch Rogue One, I was like, I had the audiobook. I was listening to, I guess, the last few pages of Catalyst. I finished it mere hours before Rogue One, the movie, started. And it was a really, really good book as well. There's a specific moment, and if you don't want spoilers, I guess skip ahead like 20 seconds. This isn't like a super spoilery scene, though. Like, nothing of consequence happens. But if you just don't know anything about the book, like, definitely skip ahead. There's one part where I believe Jin's parents are being hunted down by, like, battle droids. And like the moment where they finally get caught by the droids and the droids are about to shoot them, they all just get like turned off. And I thought that was a really fascinating tie-in to like episode 3, when like Anakin is told to go stop the production of the droids or whatever. So I don't know, that was just a really cool tie-in, and overall I had some really, really nice moments with Star Wars books. I'm also forgetting one. I also listened to Resistance Reborn. Is that the name of it? The tie-in episode 9 basically leads you right into, like, right after episode 8, kind of shows how the Resistance rebuilds itself and leads into episode 9. And if there was one thing that actually kind of got me hopeful for episode 9 in any discernible way, it was Resistance Reborn. That book was so good. It dealt with all the main characters from the sequels, and it really just gave a nice story to how the Resistance dealt with the blow from Crate, and how Poe especially dealt with his actions in episode 8, and just how they kind of regrouped and became an actual an actual army again, I guess is what I should say. That book was really good. It is kind of unfortunate that it kind of culminates at episode 9, which, I mean, doesn't really reference any of it, which is not a big deal for me. Like I understand like these books and these movies, they aren't made side by side. Like the movie makers are going to do what the movie makers want to do. I don't have a big problem with it, but I definitely think that like when it comes to episode 9, if there's one bright spot of it, it was definitely the Resistance Reborn book. That was super fun to read, and it actually got me excited to watch that movie when I knew I wasn't going to like the movie. And now it's time for the final question by Eve. They say, I just want more sequel stuff. I think this is more an issue with Star Wars as a brand as a whole than just Lego. As much as I hated The Rise of Skywalker, there's still plenty of set opportunities we never got. I feel like the Lego brand in general is getting too adult focused. In 10 years, they'll struggle because there will be no kids who are nostalgic for it and get their kids into Lego because they won't make playsets. This question is what really got me excited to make this episode of Your Questions Answered. And it's really mind blowing to me because I was literally just making the same point on a Discord call with some friends the other day. And I think it's something worth exploring, and it's something I definitely want you guys' opinion on. If you look at, especially a lot of the Lego Star Wars community today, and you can even go back and like look at the reception to my Lego Star Wars video game collaboration that I did with all those awesome guys. There's just such an overwhelmingly positive reaction to that, and it's kind of weird how the Lego Star Wars video games have kind of got like a out of like a cult following, just like a total resurgence in popularity with a lot of like the online community, and a lot of that comes from nostalgia. It comes with the people who played those games as children and who had the Lego Star Wars play sets that corresponded to that video game. And I think about it, and I think about what does Lego Star Wars look like for kids nowadays. If you go into the Lego store as a kid nowadays, you go to the Star Wars section and you're looking at, probably 45 to 50% of the sets that are actually marketed towards you that are at, a reasonable price range. These are the play sets specifically. And then the other half of the section are these 18 plus black box, primarily displayed sets. And I really wonder what kind of ramifications this is going to have on the future children, the future adults of Lego Star Wars, the future collectors. My formative years of Lego involved me not just sitting down and building sets, but playing with them, engaging with them, creating stories with them, creating my own guys, and flying them around the house, and really just putting myself into the Lego Star Wars world. When it comes to things like the helmet sets, for example, and the dioramas to some extent, because I think that the way they're constructed are not necessarily meant to be engaged with and played with, you just don't have those opportunities. So if we look at the Lego Star Wars line as a whole, and it's very obvious that a greater and greater percentage of the Lego Star Wars sets are becoming these sets that are adult oriented, aren't necessarily meant to be played with. And I'm thinking, like, is this off-putting to kids who potentially would want to get into Lego Star Wars, like especially in the marketing? Like the 18 plus sets, I'd say by far are more heavily promoted than the playsets are. And that's not to say that the playsets don't exist. Like they're definitely there. I'm not saying that Lego has completely neglected them, but I mean, I almost feel like they're being overwhelmed by the huge influx of adult oriented sets. And I really have to wonder, is there going to be, in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, the kids who are going to the Lego store and who are like, oh man, like, I remember having my Lego Star Wars adventures when I was younger. I want to get back into it. I want to show my kid the love that I had for it. Or is Star Wars going to be one of those themes that kids kind of look at and be like, oh, like, that's mostly adult stuff. Like, I'm not super interested in that. I really wonder, if this adult oriented marketing for Star Wars is all going to be off putting to children. I honestly do. I would kind of fear down the line that there isn't going to be that level of nostalgia that it is for like my generation, and probably a lot of you have from when you played with play sets, and that's what really fueled your love of Lego Star Wars nowadays. I'm just not quite sure that's going to exist for a lot of kids in the future. And this isn't even just something that, comes from the adult marketing with Star Wars. I think that nowadays kids in general just don't play with toys nearly as much as they used to. We're obviously in the technological era, so that certainly doesn't help. But I can't help but feel like the fact that we're just going so far into the adult marketing and the adult oriented Lego Star Wars sets that it won't have some sort of effect on kind of like kids' impressions of it nowadays, and ultimately, how fondly they look at Lego Star Wars as a whole down the line. So it'll be very interesting to see, and I'd love to get you guys' thoughts on this. Do you think that we're gonna kind of not necessarily have an issue, but do you basically think that like Lego Star Wars is going to have the kind of like hyper nostalgic fan base that it has now? The people who maybe played with the play sets when they were younger and they're super into it now. Do you think they're going to have that down the line, or do you think that maybe the adult marketing is good for the adults now, but won't necessarily contribute to future adults being super interested in Lego Star Wars because they didn't really have that basis to start off as when they were younger, because playsets just weren't as marketed as the adult sets are. So I think that's a really interesting talking point. I think that I really do want to see a discussion about this in the comment section, because it was something that I just thought about in that Discord call, and I was like, man, like this could really be something. So the fact that Eve brought up this exact same point in the YQA, I was like, okay, I got to answer this, and I can't wait to see just how the community feels about it. So definitely, guys, let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. But that's all we got today, guys. If you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.